So I want to be able to also host content. Okay? I want this to behave like a like any other web server, right? If there are static pages, right, like HTML, I would like to be able to view them. Like if there's an index.html, I like to be able to see it. Right? So to do that, from an Express point of view, from a service point of view, those are all static content, right? All the .css, right? All the .js, all that is all text. Yes, those are all static content, as opposed to what? As opposed to maybe a PHP or an ASPX or a .jsp. Those are dynamic content. Yes, that is going to execute on the server. Yes, and it's going to dynamically generate HTML that comes to us from the server. The server generates dynamic content, as opposed to the .htmls or the .js or the .css. All that is static. When it gets to the browser, then JavaScript can be dynamic, right, and do all sorts of things. Yes, but it reached the browser statically. Yes, when it gets to the browser, then you can do all sorts of for loops and if statements and DOM manipulation. Yes, and all sorts of animation. But once you get to the browser, as opposed to if this is generated dynamically at the server, which is what we're going to do in a couple of weeks when we get to ASPX, or if you're doing JSP, it's the same thing, right? You would dynamically generate the content at the server as opposed to dynamically generating it at the client. Okay? So we want to see static content. We want to be able to access the static content like a normal server, right? Like we would expect from Tomcat, or right, we drop pages and like to be able to see them. We would like our server to serve. So if we look here for static, we can configure Express to serve static content. Right? Here's the snippet of code. I'm going to copy it here. I'm going to replace this because this slash is the root, isn't it? Typically, the root should be mapped to what? Either to a directory listing, right, or to an index.html, typically, right? So I'm gonna blow this away and say, no, I don't want you to send hello world. What I want you to do is I'm configuring the Express, right, to serve static content from this directory, from a public directory, rooted at the current directory name. Wherever server.js is running, that's the local directory for the server. Yes, that's what this is. This is underscore dir name. That's the current local directory where I'm running. Yes, and I'm just appending public, meaning there will be some public directory where I'm going to put all my static content in there. Okay, everybody good? All right, I'm going to save that. So I'm going to go back to my directory, right? I'm going to create a public directory. Just like I said here, right? That there's a public directory, and in here, I'm going to put an index page. And I'm going to put some dummy data content in here. I'm just going to say h1, again, hello world, from static content, like HTML. So let's run the server again. And let's try hitting this over here. So if I run it again, it says hello world from static HTML. Right? So basically it's looking for slash. The default behavior is that if you do not provide a document name, a specific document name, it assumes that you want, right, the index.html or the index.jsp or the index.something, right? It's looking for those things. It's looking for one of them. It didn't find anything. I did not provide index.html. This is what it's doing, right? It's going to index.html. That's what it's doing. Okay, so by default, that's the file that it looks up, index.html. right, by default.